If I'm New Orleans, I am okay right now with the losing, mainly because we are seeing what you have for your future down the line.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the authentic voice of sports leadership where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, it's segment 1, Oklahoma City pursues greatness, and we are all here for it. We also want to talk about how teams deal with losing. In segment 2, should the NCAA Tournament expand? And in segment 3, we're going to talk about cooking the net and use the Big Ten women as a conference as an example of cooking the net. And we also want to talk about representation and coaching and how it matters. With us today, the one who got away, Danny Thompson, our basketball correspondent and favorite team leader in Oklahoma City aficionado, Mike King. Gentlemen, let's get started in the East. Number 1, Pistons. 2, Knicks. Knicks are on fire. 3, Celtics. 4, Sixers are still hanging in there. 5, Magic, and 6, Raptors. Hottest team, it's the Knicks. Danny said it last week. They're still hot. So, Danny, talk to me about the East. What are you seeing, sir?
I mean, just from what I said last week, it's been the talk of New York. New York is turning into that team that everyone in the mainstream media has said they wanted to see. So now it's just a matter of, can they keep this up? Because again, it's only December. We're still in the infancy of the season. Because I mean, if you look at it now, you look at how the rankings look. I mean, Toronto was right up there with Detroit, and Toronto has fallen back from grace. You got Philly coming up. They're starting to get the Joel Embiid had a very dominant, well, I'm not gonna say dominant, but a Joel Embiid like game a couple nights ago. But again, the talk is still New York. And then I'm still keeping my eye on Detroit because I want to see how far this can go. Because if Detroit can turn to what we saw with those Detroit teams back in like 2004, 2005, where they're dominant on defense and then we know what they are on offense. I mean, Detroit can steal the East easily. It's just when you see a team like New York creeping up like they are, it's a sight to see because now you have Cat playing like the post that we know he can play like. We already know what Jalen Brunson's going to do. We know that already. And I said this before, it's the others around them. It's the OG Ananobis. It's the Mikal Bridges. It's them playing as a collective piece. It's not, and this is no dispersion on Tom Thibodeau, but he was running them boys into the ground for the past couple of years. You were wondering why they weren't making it through the playoffs like we thought they would, because they were a very good team, but how much energy did they have in their legs? So let's see how Mike Brown could handle it now that they have the success, because as we all know, and Coach, you can be proud of this. I was watching the NBA Cup yesterday. You know, even with the John Cena stuff going on, I still found time to catch some of the NBA Cup yesterday. And I was surprised to see how New York was playing yesterday. It was good to see them play last night. So I think New York is still the team is a team to look at right now, just to pay close attention to see if they can keep this run going, especially with the holidays coming up.
All right, we're going to go to the West. OKC, number 1, Denver 2, Rockets 3, Spurs 4, Lakers 5, and the T-Wolves are 6. Hottest team in the league despite the loss, OKC. Mike, talk to me about the West, starting with OKC.
OKC's doing fine. Sometimes you need losses like that to like bring you back to focus. That's what I look at that game yesterday. It was a great game. And one team's a young team that putting everything on the line. I don't want to say that was their quote unquote Super Bowl, but that's kind of how they were attacking it, especially Wemby was just like getting super excited for to finally beat Chet. And for OKC, I think after the game they're going to be like, we shot 24% for 3. If we shoot 27% for 3, we win.
Yeah.
And they need, like, when you win most of these games so big, you just don't have these opportunities. They need the reps. They need okay, we're down 3, we're down 5, we're down 7 in this situation. Situational basketball. They got some new things yesterday they hadn't had in a while. It's gonna be good long term. But one thing I thought was funny, because I'm big on the NBA Twitter. A lot of Denver fans hate the Thunder, and they were all so happy with the game. And I'm just thinking, I watched that game and I go, Jokic is gonna end up with 1 ring, because OKC and the Spurs, that's the future.
That's the future.
It ain't Jamal Murray and it ain't Jokic. It's Wemby and the OKC Thunder team. And that's going to be the future of the West. That's going to be the future of the league.
And that is the perfect segue. So one of the things as a Coach Adams will say, go get that thing. Go get it. Go get it. And Oklahoma City has an opportunity in history, and they openly acknowledge that it's something that they want. So to go along with what Mike has said, when you're a defending champion, you can kind of have your belly full and take the shots, or you can be a little extra hungry. And it seems that Oklahoma City's a little extra hungry. They've outscored their opponents this season by an average of over 17 points, putting them on pace to obliterate the record they all set. They're 72-10 over the last 82 regular season games. Remember, that was an NBA Cup game. The 2015-2016 Warriors had 73 wins but lost in the championship. Oklahoma City openly says they're going for 74 wins. Yay! In an era of passiveness, in an era of I'm too cool to be a champion, these cats in December have said, let's go. Mike, you're my OKC guy from the Seattle days. How are you feeling about OKC pursuing greatness?
The benefit that they're going to have is everyone says, like, when you're the champ, you get everyone's best shot. Not how the NBA works. You get the best shot of the top teams. Everybody else is like, ooh, that's a free loss. You're getting some rest. That's going to help us move up in the NBA tankathon odds. That's going to be a day where you don't play. The Thunder play backups most of the time. Now, when they play the Spurs, they get their best shot. Wemby comes back for that game, right? When they play the Nuggets, everyone's going to play. When they play the Rockets, everyone's going to play. But when they play 90% of the league, nobody's going to play. So they're going to get to like load up on wins. And the difference between the Thunder and some of these other contenders is when we play those backups, we're going to win. The Nuggets will choke a few games because, again, they're not locked in like the Thunder. The Thunder treat every game like it's the game, and that's how they play. And they've said that the going for the record, they say we're going to try and win every game. We're not out here to lose every single week. This is the game. This is what we're trying to win. So they're not getting people's best shots. They're getting most teams' worst shots. So I think they're going to have a chance. But in the end, I just want them to continue to get better. They're boring. Like they say, hey, continue to get better than we were yesterday, practice better than we did last practice, play the next game better than we did the next game, keep learning. And then when we see the Spurs, hopefully in the semifinals, if every game's like that, NBA fans will be pretty happy.
All right, Danny, what are you thinking about OKC going for broke?
I said go for it. I am not against it whatsoever. I wasn't against when Golden State went for it because I was like, in an era where you see so many teams resting, and I'm a big proponent in trying to at least defend the player side of it, because there's this notion that when it comes to rest, everyone's putting on the player, the player, the player. I think it's just now, with the way front offices are looking at the science of things, if you want to put science into this equation, they're going to want to sit their guys who they know they're going to need for the long haul when playoffs roll around. To see OKC say, bump that, we're going for 74. We're going to do what Chicago did, what the original record holder did, the Lakers of the 60s did. I mean, the 71-72 Lakers did. and something Golden State could not do. We're going to go for 74 and we're going to bring home a championship. That's the goal. That's the idea. That's what you want to see from your pretty much best team in the league. You want to see them go for something like this. And I think it's a good shot in the arm for the league to know that there's a team out there who still wants to press on and buck everything about rest and sitting guys and this, that, and third. I can see where they're sitting guys, but these guys are still playing. They're not just not playing a lot of minutes when they play the bottom tier of the league. They're still playing just to get their reps up, which is a good thing because you need as much playing time as you can to keep the motor going. So when you get teams like San Antonio, when you get teams like Denver, when you get teams like the Lakers, the Knicks, Detroit, you're going to want your guys to still be able to handle the grind of the season while still maintaining their bodies by playing minimal minutes against the bottom tier and playing the high level minutes when you get against the best of the league at the point in time. So I think it's a great thing to see them actually going for 74 wins. Now, Mike, I hate to break it to you. Do I think they're going to get it? No. Because trying to get 74 wins is going to be a hard thing to do. Now, yes, they started 24-1. As of last night, 24-2. It can be done. Do I think it's going to happen? No. And I'm not saying that because of, it's just impossible to do. I just think with the way the league is and the way the structure is, especially when the best teams give them their best shot, it's going to be hard to maintain that for an 82-game stretch and get to 74-8.
All right. Now, before we start talking about the losers, let me chime in really quickly. The NBA season is a marathon. It is 82 games, and it is hard to stay engaged. Going for 74 wins kind of keeps you engaged. And I'm going to date myself, reminds me of the movie Major League and the locker room scene throughout the movie. So I'll let y'all go take a look at that. But, Mike, I want to get back to you. Dealing with losing the Clippers. The Clippers are a mess. And they being a mess kind of makes you happy. Can you kind of talk about how the Clippers mess is a benefit for OKC?
So the Clippers, obviously that Shea trade was Gallinari, Shea, and a boatload of picks. And one of the picks is this year unprotected. The Thunder get the Clippers pick. They do a trade. Next year they get a pick swap. So if the Thunder are better than the Clippers next year, spoiler alert, they're going to be better than the Clippers next year. The next 2 years, the Clippers pick is going to the Thunder. Clippers got old. They got old pretty quick. But the joke is, Harden still puts up big numbers every game. Kawhi puts up big numbers every game. What's the center? Zubat? He puts up big numbers every game, and they lose every game because the bench is a joke. The team is a joke. They had Chris Paul, who was trying to win. They got him out of there as soon as they can. It's just a mess. So the top three in this draft is all elite. Numbers 4 through 9 in this draft is all pretty damn good. Like, people have said that Cooper Flag would be 5 or 6 in this draft. I don't know if that's true. But the fact that that's even something you could potentially talk about, the fact that that's even on the table of like the guy last year who everyone was trying to tank for, this year, maybe he's not in the top, let's say top 3 to be nice to him. Maybe he's not in the top 3. And I'm looking at Boozer and what he's doing at Duke, and I'm comparing it to what Flag did at Duke last year so far. Boozer's impressive. And Boozer, heading into this draft, was like kind of number 3 of the group. And then, I mean, you got AJ, you got kid of Kansas hasn't been hurt, but 6'5", defends everybody, like defends OKC style defense, could shoot the ball, like he does everything. Caleb Wilson from US, like there's so many guys, and the Clippers don't have a pick. And then next year, the draft isn't going to be as good, but the Clippers don't have a pick. OKC's getting those 2 things. So It's a mess. It's this was now they didn't know when they made the trade to save for 2026, but I think we're gonna get into some teams that did that still screwed up because this is the kind of draft you saved your draft capital for.
And speaking of that, I'm going to transition to Danny. In New Orleans, sir, there is a young budding post player named Derek Queen from Maryland, and fans, Mike is an alum of Maryland, so please keep that in mind. And New Orleans made some draft decisions that may not benefit them in the future. Danny, any thoughts about New Orleans dealing with losing with the two guys that they have and no one else?
If I'm New Orleans, I am okay right now with the losing, mainly because we are seeing what you have for your future down the line. Because I said it on draft night when I was talking to some guys who I was watching the draft with. New Orleans going back and getting Derek Queen is going to be the steal of the draft. And right now, he is proving me as draft Nadamas at this point because he is showing exactly what I thought he was going to do once he got here. Because if you watched Maryland last season, you sat back and you was like, Derek Queen is a lottery pick, maybe top 10 talent. Because he was a post player who could handle the ball, who could shoot from the mid-range. I'm not going to say he can shoot from three. That's one thing he's struggling with right now. If he can add it and be a capable shooter from long distance, that'll be even better. But his groundwork is 17 feet it in from the elbow because he can pass, he can score in that area, and he can be what New Orleans needs right now because we don't know what Zion's health is going to be down the line. It's amazing to watch him play. And then the play of Fears was somebody I was not thinking was going to do what he's doing right now. Again, he's not a capable three-point shooter. But you have a 1-2 punch in those two that can scare the league for some time. I'm not going to say they're going to be championship contenders. We'll see how things turn out with, the draft of the future, free agency moves, and how they put them together to build around those two. And just to see how they're playing right now is, honestly, it gives me cause for pause because they can cause havoc in the league for years to come as long as those two stay healthy.
They got no picks, Danny. They got no picks. And Oklahoma City is kind of treasure trove of everything.
I know.
So you got not Seattle. You got San Antonio. Houston's not getting worse. OKC is going to run this thing for a few years. When is New Orleans going to get in the top 6 so they're not playing 7 to 10?
I don't know. That's the scary thing about it. I'm not gonna. That's why I said I don't. They're not gonna be championship contenders.
They're going to be a bunch of mid-card wrestlers, man. They're going to be Pez Whatley and Paul Jones and Jimmy Valiant feud. That's a real dated effort. Go ahead, Mike. Close us out with Derek Queen because that's your guy too.
My problem with what New Orleans did, and I love Derek Queen. I was hoping the Thunder would get him because Dort couldn't shoot a 3, and if you put Derek Queen with that group and they could teach him to shoot a 3, I mean, Derek Queen is the closest thing we have to Jokic of anybody in the league, a big that has great passing, not good passing, great. He's the only rookie with 100 assists. He's a center. Cooper Flag was playing point for the first 15 games of the season, playing point. Queen's the first rookie center to have 100 assists this quick in over 50 years. He's going to be, I don't want to say special, but he could be special. But they shouldn't have made that pick unprotected. And that's what that from a NBA fan perspective, when that trade was made, I was like, what are you doing? In a draft where there's 3 guys, and even if it's 4 through 9 we know are going to be good, there's a 3-guy superstar thing. And you suck because you're relying on Zion, and Zion can't stay healthy. So what they should have done is say top 3 protected, and then we'd look back at that Derek Queen trade and say, that was pretty good. But when that pick becomes number 1, and the Hawks, who are already decent, are adding a Boozer or AJ, then we're going to look back and say, and Derek Queen's going to unfairly be in this thing where it's like, that was a terrible trade, even though Derek Queen, I think, is going to have a good career. You make the picks top 3 protected. This is like obvious stuff. In a draft of three superstars, you make your pick top 3 protected.
All right. So, fans, with that, in segment 2, we're going to answer the question, should the NCAA tournament be expanded? We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. Let's go men's college basketball. Here are your updated net rankings for this week. Michigan's 1, they're good. Duke's 2, they're really good. Gonzaga's 3, they're technically a mid-major, but they ain't nothing mid about them. 4, Iowa State. I actually watched Iowa State. They're not bad at all. They're going to be a problem. And Vanderbilt is 5. Let's see how long that lasts. In terms of mid-majors, the highest ranked mid-major not named Gonzaga is St. Mary's in the WCC, which is 17. But again, they get to play Gonzaga, so that's kind of cooking the books. St. Louis is 29. They're in the A10. Utah State is 33. They're in the Mountain West. Akron is 41. They're in the MAC. And believe it or not, Yale is 42. They are in the Ivy. But let's get to the story of the week. NCAA tournament expansion. So the NCAA is deliberating right now, and they're under a deadline. A definitive call of whether to grow the NCAA tournament field from 68 to as many as 76 for the 2026-2027 season must be made by April. NCAA President Charlie Baker told a small group of reporters last week that he is still working on it. They believe they have a window, and the window is going to get us to about April. We're still talking to CBS, still talking to our media partners. So again, I believe it's going to be 76 over 72. But the question is, should we even do it? Mike, I'm going to start with you first because you are a former athletic administrator. You've watched the tournament. 76 is the number they're debating. Should we even get to 76?
I mean, I would say no, because there's a lot. If you're not good enough to be in the 68 teams, like 76 to me doesn't add much. I know when they have those extra games, the who's going to be the 12 seed. Are you watching?
Simply for entertainment purposes only.
Now, I would say if this was a chance for more mid-majors to get that shot,
you know you're going to get the 9th place team from the 8th.
That's not what it's going to be, right? If you promised me this is a chance to have more mid-majors into the tournament, then sure. But that's not what's going to happen. This could be an excuse for like a 15-win Penn State team to get a chance, and no one cares. Nobody cares. No one wants to watch it. But again, you promised me we're going to get some extra mid-major, fine. But that's not what's going to happen, so I don't want it.
All right, Danny, I'm going to come to you as the former mid-major player. Chris Caputo, my friend, said the books are cooked. We'll talk a little bit about that in segment 3 when you see the Big Ten. But hey, do you really think we should expand the tournament? What do you think?
If you're asking me as a mid-major player, and if you're saying there are going to be more mid-major programs in the tournament, I'm all for it. Let's be honest. This is just another way to get more of those bigger schools into
the 7 and 9 SEC teams going to get in because they're strength of
right.
schedule.
Right. Like we're like really like this. Let's be real. We know what this is about. I'm all for the mid majors getting into the tournament. We have seen through the years how successful mid major programs are in the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying they're world beaters and we're going to see them make it all the way to the Final Four. That is still an anomaly. There are very few mid majors who make it, but the mid major programs are what make the tournament that entertaining, magical run that everyone seems to talk about. Coming from a guy who sat in the NCAA tournament and was watching in the stands because I was redshirted that year. We just watching from the stands. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of. So to see more major programs get in, if this expansion thing is supposed to do that, I'm all for it. I'm also a realist. We know what this is for. This is for, say, like those 6 and 10 ACC, Big 10, SEC, and Big 12 schools to get into the tournament, only to get mollywopped by the team playing in the next round because pretty much they're just expanding on the first 4. And I'm not for the expansion. I don't think 76 or 72, whatever they're trying to get to, is going to be a good decision. It's they're capitalizing on the dollars. And again, we all know the NCAA at the end of the day is a business. They're just trying to capitalize on the money, not necessarily on the quality of basketball that is coming into the tournament. And with players still trying to maneuver and transfer and figure things out where they want to play and who they want to play for, I don't think expansion should be on the table, period. There's too much going on in the NCAA right now to be worrying about expansion. Like, you still need to figure out the transfer situation. You need to figure out this NIL situation. And you're sitting there talking about expanding the NCAA tournament for what?
So
it's no point.
So Danny and Mike, I want you to respond. In its current setup, there's only less than 20% of teams in the NCAA that make the tournament. So by expanding it to 76, we now have just under 22% of the teams eligible for the tournament coming in. It's only a 3% increase. Mike, what's wrong with a 3% increase based on the data? Less than 20% go in now. We're raising it to less than 22%. What say you in our professional learning community meeting?
In college football, we've got teams like, I don't want to go to a bowl. I'm out. Well, no. And we got then they go to the 5 and 7 teams. You want in? And they're like, no, we're going to enjoy Christmas. No. So, and this is the equivalent. This is those level teams. But for basketball, we're saying, no, we'll let you play. No, I'm going to say it for them, because if it was football, they'd be turning it down. But because it's basketball and they get a free ride to the championship, no. A free ride to the real tournament, no thanks.
Stop it. Okay. So in segment 3, fans, we're going to talk about cooking the books with the net rankings and use the Big Ten women as an example because they're a very top-heavy conference. And we're also going to talk about the importance of representation in coaching. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Today's student athletes face pro-level challenges without pro-level support. The CKA SAVE project is here to change that. For 16 plus years, Dr. Keith Adams and his team have provided comprehensive academic and athletic support from middle school through post-graduation transitions. NIL guidance, transfer portal navigation, academic coaching, career planning, they've got it covered. The CKA SAVE project. When your future is on the line, experience matters. Learn more at www.ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. Let's go to the women's net rankings. 1, UConn, they're good. 2, Michigan women are good too. 3, LSU. 4, Texas. 5, UCLA. And in the mid-majors, the highest ranked mid-majors, and there are only 68 teams in the tournament. Princeton is 34. They're in the Ivy. Fairfield, who's really good, is 41. Davidson and Fairfield's in the Supermac, MAAC. Davidson's in the A10, they're 44. South Dakota State, I think they're in Horizon, I forgot already. They're 46. And Richmond, who's in the A10, is 49. So right there, it's already hard for mid-majors. But our story of the week for women is cooking the net, the Big Ten women example. So the Big Ten has 9 teams ranked in the top 25 in the country as of last week. They set that mark, and they have 3 teams in the top 10 alone. UConn's still number 1 in all of that, but Jiminy Crickets, darn near every team you play is a quad 1 win. Okay? So your whole schedule is really good. With that being said, the ACC struggling, the SEC struggling, so we're going to get a lot of Big Ten teams in at the expense of mid-majors. And we talked about expanding the tournament the last segment. Danny, you watch more women's basketball than anybody in our little organization here. What are you thinking about cooking the books with the Big Ten women and the net rankings?
I mean, if I'm the Big Ten Conference, this is brilliant. Because when you think about it, and I had to go back and look at the net rankings this morning, they have 13 of the top. They have 13 spots in the top 50 as far as net rankings go. And I'm looking at it right now as we speak. When you think about it, you got Indiana at 46, Washington at 35, Illinois at 34, Ohio State at 30, USC at 25. So that's just, and I didn't, like you said, we didn't even get into just the top 10 alone where they have 4 schools in the top 10 with Michigan State, Maryland, Michigan, and UCLA. So at the end of the day, it's about the almighty dollar. And right now, the Big Ten is cooking with what's going on in the net rankings. Now, unfortunately, it is at the demise, and I will preach this to the cows come home. It is at the demise of mid-major schools. Like you said, we look now. We all know mid-major programs on the women's side is not as competitive as those bigger schools. We know this already. But right now, you mentioned it with the struggling ACC and the struggles of the SEC, this is prime picking for the Big Ten to get almost the entire damn conference into the field at this point. That is insane to me right now to say that. Because like you said, at this point, at the rate they're playing, if the Big Ten season were to start right now, you're looking at least 6 to 12 quad 1 games as far as the net goes. So that's strong for the Big Ten to do right now. That's big for them. Now, again, I'm going back to reality. Will this last? Hell no. And I'm looking at the Big Ten as a whole. They are going to beat each other to the ground when the conference rolls around starting in January. So right now, it looks amazing for the Big Ten. In the long run, it can be disastrous because we can say, oh, Indiana had 10 quad 1 games, but they're 2-8. You can say Southern California has 12 quad 1 games, but they're 1-11. So all of this trying to cook the net to get more standing into the tournament, especially with them talking about expanding. If this expands, this is amazing. We're like, oh my God, the Big Ten figured it out. But right now we're still at 68. So it's no point in doing this because again, you're just gonna beat yourselves into the ground, and not all these teams are gonna get in because you're gonna look at their quad 1, quad 2 games, and their records are abysmal. So there's no point in doing this right now.
All right. So, Mike, the Big Ten team you follow on the women's side are the Maryland Terps. You see this, you're a data guy. What are you thinking about the Big Ten possibly having 9 teams in the NCAA tournament, and you are not for tournament expansion?
I don't think it'll end up. I don't think it's gonna end up 9. They're gonna play each other. They're gonna beat each other. It's gonna be hard for those teams that are like the Big Ten's got. It's a very quality conference for women's basketball, but the top is elite, and the middle, they're gonna have to get a couple upsets, not just like, oh, I beat Maryland, oh, I beat UCLA. You're gonna need a couple of these kind of wins to prove it at the end, because again, once we get to like 7, 8, 9 in a conference, it becomes like, well, they could say it's just looking at the numbers, but they know how optics look. They don't want it to be like the Big Ten tournament. It's the NCAA tournament. So it's gonna. I think it'll help the teams on top, because the ones who could survive the gauntlet are gonna have a good claim for a 1 seed, 2 seed, etc. They might have 3 teams in at 1 or 2 seeds. That's possible. But I feel like once the season gets going, the middle of the conference is actually in trouble because of it. There's just too many good teams. I will say Maryland about a week ago they were down 9 with 40 seconds to go in double overtime, came back for the win. If you go on Twitter and search it up, pretty cool. They're like it's the gone in 54 seconds against Duke, but in reverse, where Maryland comes out on top, which doesn't always happen for Maryland sports. So check that out.
All right. So our second story of the week is about the WNBA, and we will take a week off of CBA negotiations. The WNBA is growing. So there's an issue. There are no Black women head coaches headed to the season, despite several off-season openings. So when Noelle Quinn was introduced as the first Black head coach at Seattle Storm in 2021, she paid homage to every Black woman who's been a head coach, and it took her 17 seconds. So now, if we look at it today, she would have only added 2 names since she's been a part of the WNBA as a head coach. Now, again, this is not everybody should have equal whatever. This is just, as the league continues to grow, more and more different people are starting to get opportunities to be head coaches. But on the flip side, the lifers in terms of the WNBA who've been scouting directors, assistant coaches, and the natural progression to be a head coach, those opportunities tend not to be there. And that's what gives pause. So, Danny, you watch the WNBA, you play college basketball, you have a young daughter who you hope aspires to be great. When you see that type of information, what does that make you think about?
It gives me cause for pause, because when you look at it, the pipeline of Black women who are just in the coaching profession alone is enormous. Just looking in the college game alone, I mean, it's hard for me to name a string of them off the top of my head because there's so many. We already know about Dawn Staley. We know about Coach Fee down in Ole Miss. We know about Coach Ivy at Notre Dame. So that's just 3 off the top of my head alone. But even still, look at it from an assistant coach's perspective. Why is Chrissy Tyler not a head coach in the WNBA right now? That boggles my mind, because she was one of the more talented players as far as basketball IQ goes. She should be able to lead a WNBA team as a head coach. Now, to say that there aren't any now because Coach Quinn was let go at the end of the season by Seattle, it amazes me that no one is even given a shot or even trying, because at some point I remember there was a story where Lisa Leslie put her name in the hat, and she was looked over completely by numerous teams as far as being a head coach in the WNBA. So that's amazing to me. The fact that you can't get somebody who knows the game, who can relate to the women on the floor because she played the game, and y'all can't find a way to get her in. That is shocking to me. But then that goes to show you how short of a string former players get, because Teresa Weatherspoon had Chicago in the playoffs, or almost, or knocking on the door of the playoffs, and then once the season was done, she was gone. So it's almost like former players are on a short string, and most of the former players who are trying to coach are Black women. So it's like they're on short strings when it comes to this. It's something that needs to be looked at a little bit further, because there's so many Black women who know the X's and O's of the game. It's just they're not given a shot, because teams are still going after NBA assistant coaches. They're still going after college assistant coaches who are mainly men at the moment. So it boggles my mind, because how has the coach from the Nigerian team, Coach Wakama, not gotten a spot as a head coach yet? That's amazing to me. She did something that most African countries haven't done in the history of the Olympics, and that goes and that goes to the quarterfinals of the Olympics. So why is she not given a shot? So I think it's time that they take a bigger look at this and start giving some of these women a shot at this, and not just giving them a bottom feeder team and say, figure it out, because then that goes to the front office. You need to give me the pieces so I can make this work.
Yeah. So, Mike, I want you to put your social studies hat on. You are a historian. So I kind of want you to answer the question from an administrative standpoint. This is not to discount that other teams don't have different kinds of minorities throughout. The issue we're talking about is the lack of representation in the new era of the WNBA. They often talk about being innovative, yet we're still not getting those opportunities. The league office is focused on building a pipeline for former WNBA players to gain access and opportunity. But you've been in the school system over 20 years. You've kind of seen some of these programs from your lens. What do you think, as you see the information in front of you, about the lack of Black female head coaches in the WNBA as the money continues to rise?
So I would say, like, for NCAA football, Mike Loxley, Maryland coach, formed the National Coalition of Minority Football Coaches with the idea of developing minority coaches in the college game and the NFL game, and leading to more hires. I think if the league truly wants to be, revolutionary and thinking of these things, think outside the box and start something like that, where you have create the organization to develop coaches in all levels, and give more opportunities, and it should lead to more head coaches. And I think that's one thing that Mike Loxley has done, and that I've been supportive of. The Maryland football thing, less so, but he is a good voice when it comes to getting coaches, getting minority coaches jobs, whether it's working your way from getting position coaches, which leads to coordinating positions, which leads to head coaching jobs. So it's got to be a bottom up approach, but something like that, where you're getting people in the right places to work their way up the ladder. I think that's the way to do it. And I think he's a good example of for college football, what they could be doing for WNBA.
Yeah. So to close from my lens, oftentimes owners, general managers, they hire people who they know, and their circle is not very diverse as you would want it to be. So when they're hiring the assistants from the different NBA teams, or they're lauding some type of innovative culture idea, it's probably because that person had an opportunity to, air quote, be innovative. But as you watch basketball, football, or anything, there's really not that much innovation. It's just opportunity. So as the WNBA continues to grow and expand, you're going to have more qualified coaches, but will those coaches get the opportunity to meet, interact, mingle with the decision makers? And that's kind of where we are with that. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, the authentic voice of sports leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. Also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. Shout out to my man Carlos Nelson, who was named Heartland Black Chamber of Commerce Community Voice Award winner. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on the X platform at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Keith Adams and the CKA Save Project on social media at CKA Save Project. For more information about the CKA Save Project, visit them on the web at www.cksaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.